I just feel like this is an important video to make, and it's important that the world knows what horrors were happening here. Good morning guys, and welcome to Phnom Penh, the last episode of the series. We're walking around now through the streets of Phnom Penh. Everything seems calm, tranquil, but less than 50 years ago was one of the worst genocides in human history. 1/4 of a population got killed, which basically means that every single person who you ask or you speak to, at least one of their family members has passed away. Now, when I came to Cambodia 7 years ago for the first time, my tuk-tuk driver who I was speaking to, his entire family was murdered, and he was one of the sole survivors and his entire family, which is just, so sad. And most people around the world haven't heard of a Cambodian genocide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you a bit about what it is and show you where it happened. So where we are now, we are like right in the center of Phnom Penh. That's a memorial for the king at the time of Cambodia, just on my left here. And so what happened was there was an army formed over in the east of the country of Cambodia. And that was formed by a general called Pol Pot. And during the time of 1975, the Americans were actually bombing Cambodia. They were doing the secret bombings, which wasn't reported to the news. And so as soon as the Americans left, which was I think on the 16th of April 1975, everyone went out in the streets to celebrate. There's like famous pictures of people waving their white flags to show freedom. And that only lasted for only a couple of hours before the Khmer Rouge, which is like an independent army, came into Phnom Penh, basically telling everyone on the streets here to pack all their bags, to leave, to go to the countryside, because the Americans were supposedly going to bomb again, which they weren't. So everyone was scared, packed their bags, they left. The Khmer Rouge said they can come back after 3 days, back to the city, which never happened. And what eventually happened is that all these people got displaced. Anyone with some sort of education was murdered, was killed. Anyone with any links to the government. And it just became one horrible event. Less than 50 years ago, which I just can't get my head over. So where we're heading now actually is actually to S21 Genocide Prison, which before 1975 was actually a school. Then it turned into a prison where if the Khmer Rouge wanted to kill someone but needed a reason to, as evidence, they would take them there to this school and they would torture them. They would torture them until they would make a forced confession. I actually went there yesterday. I brought my camera with me, but I was walking around and I just couldn't film. I just felt too much sadness to film what was happening, and I just wanted to take it in. I just appreciate how lucky most of us are not to have been living during that period here in Cambodia, because that honestly is just so sad. Also on the streets, which I mentioned in a previous video, that there's a lot of people without limbs, they haven't got legs, or they've lost arms, and that's because when the Vietnamese actually invaded Cambodia, and this is from my understanding, they actually planted a lot of mines around the country. Apparently they planted 2 or 3 mines for every person living in the entire country, so there were millions of mines around. Alright, so before we get to the school, let's going to go to Cafe Amazon. I get iced latte? No sugar. Alright guys, got my Cafe Amazon coffee finally. First coffee I've had in probably about a week. Oh, finally. Anyway, it's very, very windy where I am right now. Just behind those buildings there is where you can find the school. So that's one way to evade the traffic lights. Just drive on the street, drive on the sidewalk. Now, some of you know I've got a main channel. My main channel called Lawrence Benson, where most of my audience is actually Indonesian. So I did a poll when I went to the prison yesterday, asking if people have heard of a Cambodian genocide before. Over 50% of people responded saying they haven't. Stuff like this needs to be taught in schools so it never happens ever again in human history. Okay guys, I think we are approaching it now. And let me just get past S21 genocide prison. Here it is. This is like the exterior of it. These are the walls. You've got barbed wire all over the top so people cannot leave. And guys, it just looks horrendous. It looks just being trapped in here, being tortured in a tiny little cell. Like, look at all this barbed wire everywhere. And how do I get inside? This way or this way? Oh, this way. Yeah, guys, let me just show you what it's like in there. So this is just like a little sneak peek inside. All this barbed wire. And each one of those buildings is a different block. Either store prisoners there, or they'll torture them, or they'll kill them. I mean, it's horrible, horrible. As I was mentioning earlier, only 3 people got tried in court. Only 3 got convicted, and one of them was the owner of this place. His name was Mr. Dutch, D-U-C-H, and he was in charge of this entire operation here, Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum. Hello. Just one ticket?
With audio?
No headset. No. Thank you. Alright guys, what it costs is $5 to get a ticket to go inside. I'll take it. Thank you. So guys, this is some of the rules the Khmer Rouge implemented here in a prison. This is probably the most shocking one, number 6. Whilst getting lashes or electrification, you must absolutely not scream or cry out. If you don't scrupulously follow all the above rules, you shall get many lashes or electric shocks. For every infringement, 10 lashes or 5 shocks. This building was actually used as a torture building. I'm not going to go through all the rooms, but I'll just give you an example of what one would look like. So guys, this is one of the rooms. Obviously, if there'd been no fan in here, it'd be boiling hot. And as you can see, there's a lot of like dark stuff on the floor, especially like underneath the bed. And that actually is actually blood. That's human blood, which we haven't gotten rid of. Prisoners here would be attached to a bed like this. Their arms would be attached to each part of the bed. So one here, one there, one there, one there. And then there's a box. So this box is actually an electrifying box. It electrocutes prisoners. And all this was used so that I suppose prisoners would confess to be doing crimes against the Khmer Rouge, which more than 99% had nothing to do with. No, pretty much everyone had nothing to do against it. Chum May. Chum May is a man over on the left-hand side, and as you can count, there's seven people here. All these 7 people were saved when the Vietnamese army came into Phnom Penh and freed Cambodia from the Khmer Rouge. The man on the left is Chum May. I met him yesterday. I bought his book. I got a signature from a book, and yeah, 93 years old. So now we're going to take you to the B block. You're not allowed to film inside, but if you can see, there's all these pictures from what happened during the genocide. There's pictures of all the victims inside, as well as Pol Pot there. Yeah, shocking. And then even worse, this used to be a school, and they've just put all these iron bars over the windows so prisoners couldn't escape. Yeah, these are some of the people that passed away. Well, got tortured and killed. Those are only just a few of the 22,000 that were here murdered. And look at this. These are pictures actually taken by the Khmer Rouge as proof that they have killed good people. Actually, even sadder is a lot of the time the Khmer Rouge didn't actually mean to kill them. They just got tortured so badly that it was just people died. Men, women, kids. Okay, this is where all the women lived in this building. These are some of the names. And this image right here is probably the most famous one. Is of a lady with her baby. They got separated, and then she got yeah. Guys, here you can see one of the methods used to torture people. So there's a shackle there for their legs. They tie their arms up from the back. You can see how skinny people are, and they would whip them. They'd also put their heads inside of these bowls there, so they would confess to doing crimes they haven't done. But we're gonna head inside, and there's actually one example of this guy from New Zealand, who him and his friends got caught when they were sailing around the world, and he had to confess to being against the Khmer Rouge. I wonder if we can find a picture of him. He's somewhere here on the wall. And basically he said that his boss was Colonel Kentucky, the founder of KFC. Guys, to be honest, I feel a bit uncomfortable making this video here. You can see no one else really taking videos or anything. I just feel like this is an important video to make, and it's important that the world knows what horrors were happening here in Cambodia, in this prison. Honestly, I've got goosebumps just thinking of how horrible it was. This is building Block C. Now this one's a bit different because you've actually got barbed wire over the top, and this is where most of the prisoners were actually housed. It's like, look at this barbed wire here, just all over the building. This was, as I said, this was once a school. Now just covered in barbed wire so no one could escape. There's even like iron bars in front of the cells. Yeah, let's go have a look inside. So these are the people that were detained in this room. There are many, many more. There was 22,000 people detained in this prison. Yeah, this is how some of the cells would look like. It's just bricks. Actually, here, the man I was talking about earlier, let me just go inside, Mr. Chum May. He's one of the few survivors that managed to survive this place, and this is his cell. He would be shackled over here against this wall. You can actually see this is where his hands would be tied, or shackled to at least against. He would be sat around his back would be against this wall. That's shocking. Imagine just being in here all this time. Terrible. We're going to go upstairs now. So instead of there being brick cells, it's actually wooden, which makes it, I'd probably say, arguably worse. Guys, let's go upstairs and have a look. It's so hot in here. Honestly, I'm sweating so much. Guys, that also looks like blood. There's still blood on the floor. This place was actually made into a museum shortly after Vietnam came into Phnom Penh. And so they left it how it was. It became a museum in 1980, only 1 year after. Only one year after it happened. Here there's a lot more female prisoners here. I mean, 19 years old, 26 years old, 69 years old, 18 years old. Pupils of all ages. They were housed in here. This is the wooden cells. I'm like the only person in here right now. God, there's such a... Let's have a look. This is like a cell. Guards would lock up here. It just goes on and on and on. Yeah, and yeah, this is the end of this floor. So many prisoners here, just ready to get tortured in the building next door, to confess to things they've never done. This is just like a cell. It's like you can barely breathe in here. There's like sometimes two people would be in each cell. There's like no space whatsoever. Yeah, here's some text. There's like a truck. It looks like someone's taking people away. It looks like a Khmer Rouge guard and genocide. And yeah, how prisoners would get here is that they'll be taken away, be blindfolded, put into a truck, and they'll be taken here to the prison. And actually, even more shockingly, is that no one knew this prison existed. No one knew about this place until it was discovered by the Vietnamese. It was a completely hidden operation, hidden school. And now, guys, we're going to head up to the 3rd floor. And this is where hundreds of people would be lying down next to each other in this gigantic room. A lot of them in shackles, legs tied, arms tied, all next to each other. Alright, so now we're going to head into building D. Now this is where you can actually see some of the techniques used by the Khmer Rouge against people, things like waterboarding. So when someone would arrive, they'd come to this machine, and this would measure their height, as you can see from this image. And then after their height is measured, they would then come somewhere here, and then this is where they would have their picture taken. So as we saw earlier, we saw the lady with her baby. This is the same image taken when she was sat on this chair here. And these are some of the images. As you can see, with a chair behind, just like there, when they would first come into this prison. Now we saw earlier in the room before, or in the building before, all the people, I mentioned there was like 100 people in one room. This is how they'll be all shackled up. Their hands are tied, ankles are tied there. And then the person who drew this painting was actually one of the survivors, and that's him there. Second from left, right at the bottom, the tall guy. He was one of the survivors, only because he could paint. And then, as we saw outside, I showed like a statue of a guy with his hands and ankles tied up. They'll just beat him like this. And his head plunged into the water, which is just one of the water techniques that they used. And then if you go next door, probably the worst one is this here. This is waterboarding. Your head would be down here, legs up here, all shackled, and then a soldier would actually pour water from this can over to your face, so it looks like that you're drowning. And here, just cutting off nails, or like the worst torture techniques you can possibly imagine. Another here, this would be filled up with water. I mean, just like this image here, they'll be shackled, their arms will be shackled here, and then the soldier will just put them into the water until they confess to being against the Khmer Rouge, confess to having worked for PKI or the KGB, the CIA. And then I mentioned earlier how there was a guy from New Zealand, that's his name, Kerry Hamill. So he actually confessed that his boss was Colonel Sanders from KFC. He said that his family members, he actually gave the numbers of his family, saying that they worked for the CIA, which is obviously complete nonsense. Just because he would be tortured so much, and then he would be killed because he would confess to having links to the CIA, when he was just a guy from New Zealand who was just traveling the world with his friends on a yacht. A lot of the time they wouldn't shoot people because ammunition was too expensive, and also there'd be too much noise. So they'd just hit them with an axe or with like a bat, anything. And here you can see some of the skulls. If you look closely, you can see actually on his right hand side he was hit by an axe and that cracked his skull open. That's one example. This guy looks like he had his teeth pulled out. All of them, so their head's completely cracked. Shocking. Here it looks like they maybe pulled his eyes out. Honestly. That's the end of the tour, you could say. Now, okay, he's not here today, but Chun Mei, the guy whose cell we saw earlier in Block B. This is where I saw him yesterday. I bought his book. Where's that? Excuse me? Is Chun Mei here today or not?
He's outside.
Outside. He will come later or not?
Pardon?
He will come later here?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, this is a book which I bought from him yesterday. Telling his story. Here you can see all the people that were finally convicted and tried for the horrors that happened here. This is the chairman of S21. This is the guy that was in charge of this entire operation. Yeah, I just find it crazy that only 3 or 4 people got tried from this whole genocide. And look at this, it's like, if you try to escape, there's just all this barbed wire around. Just looks like absolute hell. Alright guys, you can see behind me, all these students have just graduated. Huge congratulations to them. But if this was 50 years ago, and you were if you were in university, or you just graduated, or you worked as a doctor or accountant or any high profession job, you would be sent to the prison where we were just at. As I said, I'm not trying to glorify any of this. I'm just educating you guys about what happened here in Cambodia, and hopefully this never happens ever again.